quickly go through some of the definitions of the triangle. It represents the female uterus. It represents sexuality, the goddess, female goddess. Um, it also represents homosexuality, but that was, irregardless, that was just added.
They added that.
They added that.
They liked the triangle. It was pretty.
Yeah. If you put a circle around the triangle, it's even more powerful. It
So Bob,
And if you take in the
upside
drawing,
down
it looks like a Star
triangle.
Trek.
it's also the bottom half of the pentagon. It's also supposedly
Every side of the
traps demons. It's used for spells.
The trapezoid shape.
Yes. And it's also considered a door. The upside down one is considered a doorway to heaven. So the question is, did Osama live in this compound to center the mysticism, the occult system, or was it just coincidence?
I think he
It's an
definitely
upside
did it
down
deliberately.
triangle, so maybe it was a bathhouse.
Lots of angles. Oh.
Well, it does mean sexuality. He was given a teenager wife.
Yeah, he was fucking young girls
Yeah, so-
inside an upside
yeah.
down sexuality triangle.
And we all know that pedophilia is another way to reach the
Ascended levels.
and that's why it
Yeah.
exists today in the occult
Yeah,
system.
and I do think that they were using that as a shape. You brought up to me that
it's
shape.
not reused in the religious system at all.
It is used in the religious system though too.
All
but
of them.
I'm just bringing it up right now.
Well, I said it was a doorway to heaven.
To this is the system.
So it's a good thing then.
It's actually a counter.
I think they tried to
Well,
send
yeah,
Osama into an eternal life based on where he was killed.
Yeah, so they believe that he was put there, and then that way he would ascend versus descend. And that's
I
why he
do
was
Do you
killed.
believe
think they honestly
Well, the
believe any of
Illuminati
that?
stuff's
The
really
people that
more
killed him?
demonic.
Yeah, I do believe they do, and especially I actually took. Okay, this is where, and I showed you this. Okay, I took the overshot of the Osama compound and the roads around there, and the overlay of the September 11th Ground Zero, and I overlaid them in Photoshop. And the road setup lines up very perfectly. It almost looks like somebody took the Ground Zero picture and decided to Photoshop it in and edit out areas and make it look like a military from above shot. That's pretty creepy to me. That's
see it,
his
man.
roads lined up in the same
Let me
ways.
see.
He's an
Their
engineer.
shapes
Okay.
lined up in the same ways.
Yes. So
He's an
That's
engineer.
bizarre to me.
Son was an engineering student.
Well, then he understands the power of geometry right off the bat. Also, when they kept talking about
Part of the
mansions,
Brotherhood.
you know, his mansion. That was not a mansion.
but your theory.
Funny story. Then.
Listen to
They
your.
don't. They
listen
call
to
them,
this.
There is a thing called astrology mansions, and he was killed in his mansion, which was the Gemini mansion, and his birth probably took place in this. His September 11th took place in the Gemini mansion, and his death took place in this Gemini moon mansion. So he died in his mansion. They're telling you, these people are saying he died in his zone.
It was a legacy.
That's not a mansion. that
so
little
no, that-
shit shack in the middle of Pakistan.
It's just a compound with a couple buildings.
That's a
It's-
better word.
Yeah,
Compound.
compound is
Yeah.
a very good word.
But it was, and it had a huge green gate at the door to let people in.
And why the weird shape? Like you're fucking Osama bin Laden. You're like, well, we better make sure the property lines all line up. Like, no, you're Osama. You don't have property lines. You don't need a fucking fence that looks like a specific spiritual occult shape. No, you would build a shape that's square and sensible if you had to. But they were probably hiding him using the magic, using the shape.
Yeah, that's the other
First
thing.
they hit
used,
him using this magic.
They used the shape to hide him, so people who go by the place don't question it.
Don't even
because
think.
they said Pakistan people didn't really know they was there, and they go, well, if they didn't know who was there, some people would question who was there eventually,
of
and then the
course.
police would investigate who was there. Because you just can't occupy a place in Pakistan
They're a pretty forward
without
country.
them really knowing, hey, who's living there.
Yeah,
you know?
they have police. They have officials.
Yeah, exactly. So if these people they hadn't left the compound in years, since they've moved in there 5 years ago. So I mean, obviously, on that show, Bill Maher's show,
Yeah.
he had that one reporter girl. She said 3 years ago, that was he was living in a compound in somewhere in Pakistan.
Wow.
And even Michael Morris said no millionaire lives in a cave. They live in a good, nice place.
But that's
So-
not a nice place, is it?
Interesting.
You can't call attention to it, so they made it as plain as possible. Right?
Oh, okay, I got
So
it.
they made it invisible. That's why it was.
But he still had luxuries. Did he still have luxuries on the inside?
Well, he had a TV, if you call that a luxury, and he
I-
had computers.
I love
He was
TV.
using computers, and every 2 months the
Just
courier.
chatting or looking at porn? Osama checking out.
I don't know, because it would be tough because he'd be restricted to what he looked at, because then people would like, oh, what's he looking? Then why is this guy
Oh,
searching?
because he's into kids, so
Yeah.
he'd search child porn, and the child
Oh,
porn
I don't
people
know
would
about
get all of
that,
them.
but he already
Oh.
had a young girl, and that was his sexual energy.
So he didn't need pornography.
No,
He-
I mean,
he had
and
the
he was-
15-year-old bride.
Yeah, at the time, and which is like 10 years ago or 12 years ago. So she
Yeah.
was like now 30-some, but I mean, like she was older, but she was
Yeah.
restricted to his life. You know, she couldn't go anywhere without him. So
Interesting side point on this. Guess who had a fundraiser, or will have a fundraiser in the Freemason Hall in town?
Who's this?
The VPD.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, of
Vancouver
course.
Police.
Of course.
well, they booked
They have-
where?
they
I've
have
done
fundraisers
comedy
in
there,
the
though, too.
Freemason halls.
I have done comedy, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
The law is very tied up inside the society.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not coming across nuts, but I overlaid the aerial shot.
Yeah, it's very similar.
I overlaid the aerial
but-
shot of Osama bin Laden's area and where he was killed and the World Trade Center grounds with Photoshop.
The roadways are very similar. Yes.
Very similar lineup. It looks
Yeah.
like they were from the same
Yeah.
shot.
The other interesting thing is we all know that the White House in
Mm-hmm.
the area, Washington D.C. is all laid out with trapezoids and pentagrams.
Well,
and-
I do
and
think
so,
this
yeah,
bin
so-
Laden. I think all these areas are
what?
built on a template.
yeah, it's upstairs.
They're all
Straight
built
from
on
the
a
tap.
template. Or
good.
maybe this area is a fake one. I don't know, but they overlay
So they
perfect.
all, it doesn't matter who it is, they do use the energy. They believe, they have a belief. It's there. The triangle gives you apparently energy, and everybody builds their construction zones or whatever places
It might not
to
be real.
trap the energy.
It may
And
be
they
their
do-
belief.
It's the belief
Yeah.
of the use of the triangle. So
It's their
people use the triangle
insane belief.
to trap the energy.
You don't
and that-
believe there's any credibility to it? You don't think there's any real energies like that
Any
going on?
energy? No.
No.
I think rational.
But they believe it's true, and that's why
Yeah.
they follow it.
a square or a triangle, that's a
The
rational
weed sterilizes it.
structure. It's like
Yes.
It's just
4
like alcohol,
points.
right?
But,
I'm not sure. I think that there's power in that. Maybe that makes me nuts. Does that make me nuts in your guys' view, or?
No,
just-
it's an opinion, and
Oh,
it's
it's an
just
opinion.
Oh, okay.
it's information that we know that's out there, and we're trying to relate it
Okay.
to Obama and Osama. You know,
So-
Obama lives lives at the White House, which is the base of the triangle. So I mean, like he is
Mm-hmm.
himself living inside of a triangle, and he's drawing energy from the triangle.
In his belief.
Not necessarily his belief, but in the belief of the powers that control America.
And made up
They
the
made
political
that.
system.
So just because he got into power doesn't mean
America.
he believes that crazy.
Yeah.
But they all may have a secret society. They all may go worship somebody in a tomb somewhere.
Did you
Who
not
knows?
get that the name of it was Geronimo? Operation Geronimo?
architect.
When H.W. Bush, or whatever is fucking George W. Bush's dad, is supposedly the guy that stole Geronimo, the not even ancient, but the very important Native American identity. He stole his skull from his resting place and his bones and put him in the skull and bones place. It's called Operation Geronimo. They got you. They are saying, "Hello, we are related to this." You know, like, because even if you're naming these things, you'd have a PR
Yeah.
person that realizes naming it Geronimo is not the best name. They'd be like, "Well, people might relate calling it Operation Geronimo to the Skull and Bones. Maybe we should call it, Operation Brown Guy Bullet Middle Skull." You know, like, I just definitely can't believe that they would let that slip. These are people that are aware of all the names, all the conspiracies, everything. They know this. They know that these conspiracies about who they are out there. You'd know any conspiracy that involves you. So,
So I think all the questions have been raised with his death. Obviously, Pakistan did know that they were coming, and
Yeah.
they didn't know exactly the mission. And they found the mission afterwards, but they also gave them the green light to do that mission back in 2002. Bush doesn't get recognition because he didn't go find him. It was Obama, and Obama did it
Everything was set in motion.
on a day that Hitler was killed or died or whatever it has, the same fucking day.
the same
Um,
announcement.
It's
day.
the beginning of basically
announcement.
spring, It's like, there's a lot of...
That's the Beltane.
It's almost like they're waiting for that.
The Beltane.
Yeah, it was all well
Oh,